Welcome to the mixing room.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Trent.
You know, last time we had such a great pilot episode, and I'm really excited for today's guest, and I think our audience is in for a real treat.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, you know, dude, Sierra talked about on the last episode the making of videos that John Bellion posts. That behind the scenes series that he does.
Absolutely.
And before we just came on here, you were telling me that you've actually been kind of diving into those.
Yeah. So these videos largely came out like something around 10 years ago, when he started getting some traction. So he had a reason to make all these behind the scenes videos, and then that album ended up being a lot of his like my first exposure to him. Yeah. So when I realized what Sierra was talking about, I was like, oh man, I have to go back and watch some of these videos, you know? And they're really fascinating. Some of them are just an easy 5-minute watch, and then some of them dig a little deeper and are like 20 minutes plus.
Which one was the most compelling to you?
My middle school self was obsessed with Guillotine by John Bellion, and that is in fact one of the longer videos, so I definitely ate that one up when I was going back to watch it. And just seeing his process in the studio was fascinating. How a lot of these songs were written as he was recording them. He's very much a producer, writer, and you can see that in these videos. So that was a notable thing.
Yeah, and today's guest actually talks a lot about sort of that process where, you know, she had this song that was kind of more of one style, and then when she got into the studio was able to kind of work with her producer and almost rearrange it to sort of fit the genre that she was really going for. And so I think it's really compelling to see videos of Bellion doing things like that, where he actually breaks down, you know, how he made some of these really masterworks, you know?
Yeah, he absolutely, in all of his decisions, he's serving the song, which is something that we've heard a lot about over the past few years. Being surrounded with music at Belmont and in the music industry in general. A really cool example of that real quick is in the making of Luxury. He takes that song, or the idea for the song, into the studio, and as he's creating the instrumental that basically becomes the chorus, he realizes, like, to serve the song best, he just has to let the instrument speak. And so there's really not a clear chorus part. There's certainly like a tag, but a lot of what would be the chorus is instrumental, which is atypical. So I thought that was a really neat way to do that.
Yeah, his videos are just phenomenal. Such a good, again, if you have the chance to watch those, I may even throw a link to those in the description of this. Not for any of our benefit, just because Bellion is so great at what he does.
Yeah, when watching these videos, you really get the sense that he's kind of a mad genius, which is really entertaining. Definitely recommend.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have to get to today's guest because it's a real treat having her on. Her debut single, Boy in My Bed, came out 1 month ago today. As of this taping, it has 15,000 streams, and I'm sure that number has only climbed in the time since. And she's also a podcaster. She co-hosts the Two True podcast with her friend Lily.
Yeah, that is a really cool podcast. You guys should also check out. It's pretty much the same age as our podcast, so it's pretty neat seeing us kind of hopefully grow together.
Yeah, growing and learning. We actually learned in this taping a little bit about how she's been kind of dealing with all that and you know, handling growth accordingly. And so we got the chance to really learn from her too. But without further ado, let us welcome to the mixing room, Sophia Roselle. All right, Sophia Roselle, welcome. We're so happy to have you here with us for what is only our second episode.
Yay!
Right, well, so you've had a busy week already, I think. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Yes, this week is just really busy with rights. So I just released my debut single, and now I have a bunch of songs ready to go we're looking at kind of like an EP, kind of like a string of singles. But right now I'm just trying to write a lot so I can be ready for what's coming after the string of singles. So yesterday I had a write and then a listening party with Eager, which is the team I've started working with for distribution and record label services. It's a new company and it's been really fun. And then today I have this is like the most exciting part of my week. And then I have like 3 writes tomorrow, which I've never done 3 writes in one day. So that'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm just writing. I'm trying to stay on the marketing grind for Boy in My Bed. And then I'm starting to put out new videos of different songs that I'm trying to test out with the algorithm. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to.
Cool. I can imagine that having multiple writes in a day is probably exhausting at times. Does that
Yeah.
take a lot out of you?
I've had the most I've had is 2 writes in a day, and it depends on how each write goes. Like if it's a write where we're like, sometimes you just have those days where it's like, it takes 3 hours to finish half of a song, which is sometimes that's like super rewarding, but sometimes it's like my brain after that, my brain is like, I'm done, I'm out, this is over for today. But other times, like I'll have a write and it's super easy, and then I go to the next one and it's super easy. It'll just depend on I'll probably take I got this like green tea shot thing from Trader Joe's. I'm probably gonna load up on that before tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine you can kind of pull from different creative juices for that writing process too. Like it must be very difficult to write 3 breakup ballads on the same day, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Pull from different banks. Is that kind of your method right now?
Yeah, I actually, what I do is like, pretty much I try and do this every single day. Usually it comes relatively naturally, but I will just have a moment of creativity and I'll sit down, and whether it's just a melody or a verse, I'll write it down or voice memo it. I actually just started going through my voice memos because I kind of stopped titling them, which means it's just a vault. I don't know what's in there. So there's like 1,000, I think I have 1,300 voice memos right now.
Whoa.
Which is like usually all of them are like about half finished songs or just verses. So I was going through them the other day in preparation for this week because I can kind of pull from some random notes or some random voice memos. But I find like I'm trying to write a lot for me right now because I've really figured out that like I love writing for other people, but that's not ultimately what I want to do. So usually I like to pull from a voice memo that like has at least like a fully formed idea or half of a verse so that the writers we can kind of just immediately jump into it and just go.
Yeah. You are obviously 1,000 whatever voice memos. You're no stranger to songwriting. How long have you been in like writing songs?
I started, oh my gosh, I was obsessed with Grace VanderWaal. Like when she was writing her songs on the ukulele, I was like, yes, I need to do that. She was like the girl that was like, I don't know my name. She went on America's Got Talent, that girl. Yeah. And so I got on my ukulele. I was also inspired by this one YouTuber who should probably remain nameless because she got pretty badly canceled for rightful reasons, but she really inspired me to play the ukulele. So in like 6th grade, I started writing a song. Actually, I wrote a Taylor Swift parody back in like 4th grade. I think that was my first real time that I was songwriting. And then in high school, I kind of started writing. I had a big friend breakup, and then I had a big breakup with my first boyfriend, and that really inspired me to just start writing. And Taylor Swift and Madison Beer, Fleetwood Mac, those are some of my biggest influences at the time. So I wrote a few songs then went to Belmont, and I kind of got into like a creative block. I just was comparing myself to a lot of other people, other creative processes, and didn't know what to do. And I also was in the music business program, which I don't think was helping me really get as creative as I wanted to be. So I switched into the songwriting program. I auditioned for that and got in, and that just pretty much as soon as I got in, for some reason that just like really clicked with me, and I just started writing. And then this past year I've written probably about 70 songs, which is the most I've ever written ever.
What was your, if you had one, what was your aha moment in the songwriting program? It was like, this is what I need to be doing.
I feel like I had a bunch of different aha moments because with songwriting, it's so up and down. Sometimes I feel really depressed and not motivated, and sometimes I feel really motivated. But in the songwriting program, they would always kind of find ways to remotivate you. But one of the first moments was with Lauren Lucas, who was my songwriting 1 teacher. Shout out Lauren. But she kind of, at the very beginning of class, she kind of talked about writer's block and about if you walk into a room and you're like, I'm going to write the next Madison Beer, the next Taylor Swift, the next Sabrina Carpenter song, sometimes you can have that mindset, but also I feel like you have to remember they already exist and you just have to write. Like, I think what I was doing is in my head, I was like, how am I ever going to make a pop song as good as blank? And when I sat down to write, I would really get in my head and start self-editing. And she was like, just sit down and write, be you, be authentic. And that's kind of I've always been drawn to people who are super authentic. Like, I've always looked up to people who are just super real. And so I was like, that's what I should be doing. So obviously the first few things I wrote that year were not good. And now that I look back, I'm like, Oh, wow, the creativity. But then it's like you have to write, you have to get out things out of your system even if they're not good. Like write a bad song so you can write a good one tomorrow. That's kind of what I started doing. And then, I had moments of like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. I have those still today. But when I went into songwriting too, Jody Marr, love Jody. Literally, it was one of the most amazing teachers at Belmont that I ever had. She just every single day was so inspiring. Was like, she kept saying, everyone has an audience. There's somewhere out there is an audience for you. And that's inspiring because a lot of the times you think in order to become successful, you have to have, Taylor Swift stardom, like millions of people walking up to you and watching you. But she was kind of like, even if you find one person that likes your music, that's one other person that you were able to get to relate to your music. Like, how amazing and awesome is that? And when you start thinking about it from that point of view, that's when it gets really inspiring again, because all I've wanted to do with my music is obviously like it's an outlet for me, but it's also like I want to help other people. I want other people to feel heard or feel like they can put on the song and dance to it or cry to it or whatever. And so when I thought about it from that, I think that was when you're doing something like this, you have to remember your reason why. And the why can't be I want to be famous, or the why can't be like I want to have fans. Like obviously that's a part of it, but really the why for me is like I want to connect with people and I want to do for other people what artists have done for me, especially when I was in high school and I was just going through it. Like without the people I looked up to in that time, I would seriously not be here. And so inspiring other people, like I got a DM the other day and this girl was like, I started playing guitar. I got a guitar and started learning because of you. And that, I almost started crying because I was like, that is huge. Like, you don't know, that person might be the next big star, like you never know who you're inspiring. And so when Jody was talking about that and also just talking about how you can use music to inspire other people and women and minorities and talk about important social justice topics, she talked about that a lot, and that also was a super big aha moment. So once I kind of got out of my head and also stopped comparing myself as much to other people and just writing whether or not it was bad or good and accepting that my music is mine and it's different from other people's, and some people might not like it and some people might, and for the people who like it, I'm here. So that's kind of
Well, yeah, and you were talking about making music that people can dance to and making music that people can really embrace, and I mean, I think you've done just that with Boy in My Bed. I mean, where are we at right now stream-wise?
We just broke 15,000, which is so cool. We broke 10,000 in the first 10 days, so 1,000 per day, and I didn't have it. It didn't necessarily blow up on TikTok, so it was really cool to see that people, like the Spotify algorithm kind of kicked in on like day 3, and it was also just really cool. Like I've been doing really fun TikTok live streams, and that's really I think where a lot of the streams have come, is these really fun live streams, and so it's just been really cool to see it do well.
Yeah, that definitely a really cool song. Congratulations also on the 15K streams.
Thank you.
Really happy to see it succeed. Why, out of all of your years and many songs you've written, why this one for your debut single?
Yeah, I was going between a bunch of different songs because it's funny, like a lot of the songs I write are pretty sad and pretty emotional, and then like I've recently been writing a lot more like fun, upbeat ones, even if the lyrics aren't all fun and upbeat. But I think that one, it was just so, the melody, it was the first time that I had written a melody that I was really like, this does not exist yet. This melody does not exist. Someone else has not done this yet. And that's like really hard to do. And after I wrote it, I was just like, this is such a fun, upbeat song. And I could release a really sad one for my first one, but honestly, like it's such a dark time right now. I was like, why don't I just release something that's kind of light, upbeat, and just I also was like, I feel like the girlies and the gays are just gonna get it, and even if you aren't in one of those groups, like it was just, I knew that the people specifically in those groups would definitely resonate with it, and it's like, it's just a fun, like put it in your car when you're going out or something song.
Yeah, and I mean that, you said why not do a fun song. I like that this song, I feel like it's both a fun song and also at the same time a song with a conflict in it. Like
yes.
It kind of, and I mean musically, production wise, like I want to hear a little bit about that, because the first thing I noticed was that intro, the first few seconds, it's almost, I compared it to like Etta James. Like I'm like waiting for like, at last. And then instead you have this like complete inversion of that, where all of a sudden it becomes this like pop song that's like got this, it's got a little bit of a beat behind it, but it's kind of mysterious, if that makes sense. like this production and this arrangement just seems very intentional for that.
Yeah.
So like, tell me a little bit about where some of that came from. Because
Yeah.
I assume you probably wrote it on a guitar.
So I wrote it on piano in a Belmont practice room, actually.
Really?
And the reason why I kind of started with those chords was actually, there was a TikTok and it was like, try these piano chords for a jazzy song. And I was like, I'm going to write a jazz song. And so I had the chords ready, and I had gotten out of a 4-year relationship. And then I took a year hiatus. And then for the first time ever, I hung out with a guy, and I thought he was super cute, but I was literally so nervous. I thought I was going to disappear into a molecule before he came over. Like, I was so nervous just because I hadn't hung out with someone in a really long time. I didn't know what we were gonna do. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and he was also really cute. So he came over, and then I have the Snapchat actually saved where we were sitting together in my bed, and I took a little picture and captioned it, "There's literally a boy in my bed right now." Like, there's a man in my bed. Like, and even if you don't go for guys, like, it's like, I feel like there's that like out of body experience when you're with someone and you're like, oh, you're here with me right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, that's crazy. And so I remember like the next morning I sat down at a piano and was like, let me write a song about it. And then I found those chords, but I was like, these chords are kind of jazzier, and like while I was playing it sounded not like how Boy in My Bed sounds now. And I was like, it's weird because the vision in my head is like a pop song, but what I'm playing isn't. So I was kind of trying to mend the two. So I started with like butterflies in my stomach, super slow, and then the whole verse was pretty slow, and there were a bunch more like inflections and different words that made it more jazzy. And then like I got to the chorus and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I sang a bunch of random melodies.
And then you put that in the song.
Yes, sang a bunch of random. Yeah. Oh, I did put that in the song. I did put that in the song. Well, yes, the whole point of the song is I don't know what to do. And so and then once I had the melody, I was like, this is a really weird melody, and I need like this. I feel like this song needs like a kick to it. So then I started playing the chords differently, and then I was like, I don't know what chords I'm playing. I'm not good at piano. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, you know who is good at piano and who also could probably help me make like a very girly pop bridge, second verse, all of the things, and help me really like mold the chorus? Scarlett O'Hara. And so we got together, showed her the chorus and the verse, and she loved it. And then we wrote the second verse and the bridge, and it was so fun. And it was still kind of like almost like a jazzy pop musical theater vibe. Like it was completely different than how it is now. Yeah. And then I took it so my producer Griff, who is so insanely talented, I literally played it I didn't even have a voice memo. I played him it on the piano, and he was like, okay. And I imagine he was probably like, okay, like this is an interesting vibe for you. And he kind of started making this track, and immediately like he just knew the vision, because immediately it started sounding like what I had envisioned it to be in my head. And in the chorus, like, there's a boy in my bed, there's kind of a space between the and I don't know what to do. That was totally him. Like, he was the one who figured out how to space that out in a way that was pop and not whatever I was doing, jazz, musical theater, pop.
The phrasing can be so important, and that space gives emphasis to those words too. Yeah, and I think that's something I've learned while working with Griff, is the importance of phrasing and how I'm singing it to convey because the lyrics don't come across if the phrasing isn't right. So he was super helpful in kind of like helping me realize how I wanted to sing it, because the content was there, just not the phrasing. I also love the stacked vocals.
Yes. And
it puts a good emphasis on it.
Yeah, and that was really fun too. Like while we were recording vocals, I knew from the moment I wrote it, I was like, I want this to be a huge vocal thing. Like I want there to be a ton of harmonies, kind of Sabrina Carpenter. She does a ton of vocal stacks, and so it took a long time to do vocals because there were like so many vocal, what's the word? Tracks. There we go. Sorry. Vocal tracks that we used, and it was just really, really fun. And the song, it's similar to how I wrote it, but also really, really different in all of the best ways. So that's another thing I love about songwriting, is when you write it on piano, it sounds so different from how it's gonna sound when it's fully produced as like a pop song.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, that's something interesting that I've noticed in just writing, working with other people, and hearing how their songs get produced. Like, you can have a song on guitar or piano, and when you're writing it, that instrument has to kind of carry all the harmonies or, harmonic stuff underneath. And then in production, it's entirely different. Arrangement is so important.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was also just fun because I knew my reference tracks for this was Espresso by mostly actually Feather by Sabrina Carpenter, and then I love Ariana Grande too. And so I was like, this has like an Ariana Grande like lyric feel to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, why don't we look at some of like Dangerous Woman and some of her most recent albums?
I hadn't caught some of that on the first listen, but now that you pointed out, I hear it.
Yeah,
And what I love, if I may, real quick, is that there are those Ariana elements, there are those Sabrina elements. I feel like there's some Dua Lipa elements in there.
Yeah.
At least the hand claps. I actually wrote Dua Lipa claps as I was preparing for it. But then there's also elements that are completely and entirely your own. And I think that's, the blending of those things where you can separate them and go, oh, I see where you found that influence. I see where you found that. But then there's also this kind of other component that's just you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key right there. And you did a great job of balancing all those things.
Thank you. And yeah, also just Griff made I can make a demo, but I don't know. There's a lot of terms that I don't know how to put into like official terms, and there were things that I wanted to put in the song where I was like, I feel like I want it to have like this bridge. I want there to be a sparkly sound in there, and he was like, oh, okay, let's do like this weird harp synth sound that goes up. Like it was so cool to see him like kind of take what I was hoping to do and then put it into sounds. And there were also ideas he had where I wouldn't have thought of doing the chorus and the way that he originally did it. It was really cool to see all of it come together and to kind of pick and choose what instruments to keep in and what instruments to throw out. Like it's the synth, the very beginning intro is one of my like honestly favorite parts because I at first we were like, maybe we'll throw that part out because it's like, I don't know, like maybe it doesn't make sense, but I was like, no, we got it. It's so fun. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, that's definitely like the sign of a great producer when they can kind of almost translate ideas really well.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So I'm sure it was really cool working with him. I'm gonna take it a little bit of a different direction. We do want to talk about your podcast because that's pretty exciting too.
Yes.
Two Truths, Too True. With
Lil
and Soph.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So why did you guys decide to do that? How long have you been cooking this up?
We back in July, we went on a trip to Florida together, and we are always just talking. And I've always wanted to be a YouTuber since like the beginning of time, as well as like a singer, songwriter, pop artist. It's kind of all in the same world, really. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, we should do a podcast. And it was kind of a joke at first, but then we were like, we should do a podcast. And then
we have a similar lived experience.
Yeah, literally, exactly. And so I was like, yes, we should do it. So then we started brainstorming. We were like, we want to call it something with two because it's like two of us. We're also in our 20s, and we want it to be a podcast for anyone, but specifically like women who are in their early 20s who are trying to date, just make money, be a person, and like live life. And so we kind of were like, okay, let's do it. So our first episode we did it on these like little tiny mics, and that's out now. And the audio quality we're still figuring out. Like it's a little bit of a process, but my co-host Lily has run into some health problems, and also like with Boy in My Bed, like it's hard to do full on podcast while I'm also like promoting all this music and stuff. So we kind of took a little break, but it's okay because we want this podcast to be really like fun and like lighthearted. And so we really want to get into a regular filming schedule. And now that we've kind of got all the kinks figured out with the problems we were having with the first episode, it'll be easier as we keep doing it. So we have the second episode filmed and finished. We just have to finish editing it and thumbnail and everything and put it up. Yeah. So that'll come out really, really soon. But the podcast has been really fun because it's kind of a place where we can just like, I have the craziest stories about dating, life in general. I feel like they know because we've been friends. So I've been friends with them. For people listening, I've been friends with them since college. So they know I have like some crazy lore. Like it goes so hard. It's just like, it's concerning, really.
I could choose to expose you in so many ways right now. I won't.
And you know what? The funny thing is, I've already exposed myself.
Well, yes. But the funny thing is, if I said I don't know anything I could say about you right now, I don't know what you would say back. So I'd be starting a war that I probably couldn't win. So it's not even worth. It's not worth the even friendly fire.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I feel like the other night I was sitting down and I was like, I just talk all the time. Someone needs to tell me to shut up. Like, genuinely, like.
But people probably tell you to keep talking.
They do.
That's why we're here.
Funny little quick tangent. But so a big part of like Boy My Bed and everything, I talked about live streaming. Something I do every single night pretty much for 2 hours is TikTok live streams. The stats are crazy with TikTok live stream. I've been doing it for like 2 years, but in the last like 4 months, all of a sudden, I'm not really sure what happened. They just started like blowing up. So I think the most amount of views I got in an hour was 170,000. Which is insane. And so there'd be like, it's around 7,000 people watching me at one time, and I'm just singing and playing my guitar. We do like these like goals things where I'm like, if you like this 1 million times, I'll play this song, 2 million, this song. And so I've been doing those, and through that, I've really developed this really fun bond with a lot of people who enjoy my music and who enjoy my personality. But also then after, like recently, I've kind of, I grinded that for like 2.5 weeks straight, every single night, 2 hours plus. And once TikTok happened, I was like, I need to take a break. I can't.
Is that scary for you when you like realize like, oh, this platform that I've really prioritized is on the cusp of, is it being taken away? It is, it isn't.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I have to go live every single night because this is where I'm drawing in most of my fan base. And so that's why I literally was like, let me just make the most out of this. And it was scary because I've been on TikTok since 2019, pretty much the moment it came out. And I remember when I downloaded it, I was like, this is going to be the app that I somehow gain a following on. And I just started posting random videos. I would spend like hours in my room filming videos instead of like going out with friends in high school and stuff, which was super fun. And then like, I just slowly started getting followers, and recently I just passed 100,000 on TikTok, which is like literally that's crazy. And
that's not accidental. That's intentional growth.
Yeah, a lot of hard work, really fun work though. And sometimes I'll be a little bit burnt out from content or if I don't want to go live. Like sometimes when I go live, it's like I'm performing because it's like, it's hard because what I'm doing is so when there's so many people in there, they're all like, the comments are going so fast, I can barely read them. And at the same time, I'm trying to play a song, sing it relatively well, learn the chords, because I'm not the best at guitar, and also read the chat at the same time. And if people are sending me gifts, thank them for the gifts. So my brain is doing 3,000 things at once. So then after I get off the live, I'm exhausted. So for those 2 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But what kept me going was all these people who are just so sweet and so kind, and like I created a Discord and we've all been hanging out and chatting in there, and what's really like kept me going and kept me inspired is they've become friends with each other. And that was a huge part of my high school experience, was finding friends online through YouTubers and artists that I liked. And I am still best friends with a few of those people. Like to this day, we still randomly talk. I still wish them happy birthday, and it's been like years since then. So that has been so cool. And then they're all hanging out in the lives, and I'll see them having a conversation with each other in the chat, and it's so cute. They all are like spilling lore. We've done a few Zoom calls together, and it's been like really, really fun. But all that to say, sometimes we'll do like a yap session where I'm talking, and sometimes I'm telling a story and I forget, like I'm talking to the internet, and so I'm like exposing myself basically. Like all the lore I've told you guys, they probably know, like most of it at least. Obviously I don't want to overshare too much, and I got to be aware of like the ages of fans, because I want to make sure everyone is safe. But the other day I was telling a story, which I have not told you guys all the lore about this, but I had a guy who basically love bombed me and then came to visit and acted like a completely different person.
No. I think I've heard this one.
Oh,
this has happened to you multiple times.
No, this has not happened. This was a one-time thing. When did I tell you? Okay, I can
tell you specifically when you told me. Raising Cane's. probably September.
No.
This is a different one?
No, this has only happened to me once. I think you're thinking, no.
By the way, for the people at home, you were supposed to be there that night.
Yeah.
Trent did not show up.
Yeah, hold on. Tell the camera.
Which camera
Trent did not show
Which
up.
camera? Well, no. Okay, so I'm not sure what story you're.
Good story. Whichever, clearly not this one, but
I'm not sure what story you're referring to, but this is a different one. I have never been love bombed and then flown. Like, this guy flew from. Oh, don't include that. Clip that. I can't say where he's from. See, this is my problem. This is my problem. You gotta bleep that. Bleep it. Okay, so that no, this is great. No,
If
okay.
you're listening at home, try to piece this all together.
So, okay, well, I feel like it's kind of sounding like I get around a lot, and I just want to clarify that there's a select few, and I happen to select the worst few. However, there is a select few.
Been telling you for years.
We know. Okay, so basically, no, I'm not sure what you're going on about over there, but let me just say, I'm not sure what you're talking about. But I think you might be talking about I got stood up like 4 times. Is that surprising? No.
That's
so
not what I'm talking about. But okay.
there was never. Okay, well, all right, we're moving on. We're gonna have to catch up on this later. No, there was this guy who, influencer kind of person who, long story short, love bombed me, flew across the United States to come see me, acted like a completely different person once he got here, and now he won't stop no caller ID calling me while I'm on live, and it's a whole thing. But so I was telling this also was going on a famous dating show possibly, and took the interview in my room. Now that's all a lot of lore, and if you want to hear the full story time, I'm probably going to air it out on my TikTok or on the Two True podcast. But
we will hyperlink Soph's TikTok and the Two True podcast in the description. Please join us and her for this riveting story.
that's the spark notes of that. But I was telling the story time on a Yap session, and I was reading a text from said person, and in the text he had said, if you're reading this, say blank his name, because he texted me that while I was on live, so he was trying to get me to say his name, like to acknowledge him while I was on live. I read the name.
Oh no.
And they found him within like 3 seconds. And I was like, oh man, I was so anxious. I was like, don't do anything, because I was like, don't send any hate. Like, you know, he's got his own stuff going on. Nothing wrong with that. But like, I feel like I'm constantly like stuff like that where I'm like, oh, Sophie, like, can you shut up? Like, why did you talk? Why?
Well, that's always, I mean, fan bases and, you know, loyal fans can have the best intentions, and then, you know, but like you kind of talked about some of that on the first episode of your podcast with Chapel Roan. And I wanted to hear a little bit, the Grammys were this past weekend as we're taping this. I wanted to hear a little bit of your thoughts on Chapel at the Grammys, standing up to the record companies.
I thought that was so cool. Like, to have the guts to get up, because a lot of people, when they go up on that stage, it's like, sometimes they say something, but they walk a line while they're saying it. Like, they don't just come out and say, hey, this is important. They instead are like, this award goes out to blank, but it's like a very generalized statement that you could infer as a jab against a certain political party or a certain political decision, but it's like not like directly said. And sometimes I think that's really annoying, because it's like you're standing on a stage, the whole world is watching you, and you could say something that could motivate people to make change. And so I thought it was really cool that she just went up there and said exactly what she was talking about, instead of being like, you know, I think sometimes musicians maybe aren't fairly compensated, and we should try and change that. Thank you for the award. Instead, she was like, right, like the who, the why, and the what. Like, she said it all. So I thought that was so cool and so valid, because it's so hard. I've talked about this on my live too, because I'm very transparent. I feel like I was telling them about kind of the behind the scenes process of how much it costs to produce a song.
Right.
It is insane. Like, it's a lot of money to pour in. If you're not backed by a label, like, it's a lot of money. But if you are backed by a label, it's like that you are making them so much money, they should be at least giving you healthcare. So it's kind of hard when I look at it from that perspective, because I'm like, dang, like, I'm spending so much money as an independent artist, but once I get to a label, it's still like you're still, if you're not one of their bigger artists, you're still kind of having to hustle and like really try to make ends meet when it's like they should be seen as employees of a company. So I totally agree.
And there's so much you can do as an independent artist that even though it always seems like the end goal is getting signed, sometimes that's not actually the best path for everybody because of some of those things that you're talking about. And if that basic infrastructure existed, then maybe getting signed should be everybody's goal. But at least right now, it just doesn't seem like the right path for everyone.
Yeah, no, I honestly don't know. Like, part of me is like, I would love to have a label to help back me in certain ways, but then when you look at how they're backing their smaller artists, it's like, are they really helping them and paying them adequately? So I'm kind of just taking it day by day, where I'm not thinking too much about like, do I want a record label, do I not? I go back to the why that I was talking about earlier, where it's like, I just want to inspire people and have my music reach amounts of people. That's literally it. So I kind of keep thinking about it like that, and then I feel like that will lead me to where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, you are obviously experiencing success on your own. I mean, you've got a team and a producer and all that, but your song is getting good numbers. You've got good numbers on TikTok, Snapchat, all of that. How are those things similar? How are they different? Like, when you have to, because you kind of built this following, TikTok, Snapchat, and with your music now. How do those all relate for you?
Yeah, so Snapchat is a newer one that I didn't realize you could do all you could on Snapchat, and I've been super grateful. The Snap team is so great, like, and they really are. I think Snapchat is actually one of the best apps for a creator because their team is so hands-on with the people that they verify and the people, and also you can make the most money off of Snapchat. So it's been really fun to be on Snapchat, and also like they really push out your content regardless of if you have 10,000 followers, 50,000 followers. So that's been really fun, and I feel like I like Snapchat because I like to vlog. I like to just post immediately, and it's the place where I can kind of just show my day. So I like that. And then TikTok and kind of Instagram Reels and Shorts are all kind of grouped in one. I can kind of share the same content across all those platforms, and that's also been really, really fun. I feel like TikTok is, for me right now, and my posts aren't doing as well as my lives. On Reels, it's easier to get more views but maybe less engagement, and then Shorts, I haven't quite figured that one out. I need to get more into it. I've been posting on there, but it's hard to tell like what's gonna do well, and it's also like it's not an immediate, they don't necessarily immediately put it in the algorithm like TikTok, where it's like you immediately get 200 views or something like that. It's like YouTube, it takes a second for it to really work into their system, or at least that's what I've seemed to find. But I think what I really want to start doing is like making different content than what I have been doing, like just trying to put out more, and also put out like different types of text hooks and different types of like me running down the street, or like funny things. Like I want to like kind of experiment with what I'm putting out and how I'm doing it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And I mean, again, you've been doing so well with it right now. I mean, I hope to just see you have continued success. And I know you've got a busy week ahead. You've already had so much going on. You were, saying at the top of the show about how, this song is doing so well, and now you have 3 writes, in a day. So we want to be mindful of your time. But before we do let you go, just wanted to hear maybe a recap of what your fans can expect from you going forward.
Yeah. So I've been working with, as I was talking about earlier, I've been working with this team called Eager, and Nathan, who owns the company, who has started it, has just been so helpful. So we've been working together to figure out like my release plan and everything. So I'm going to start kind of sharing different songs to different platforms. And if you like the song, comment that you like it, because I'm going to be trying to kind of choose what song to put out next based off of what you guys think, because you guys are the deciders here. So I kind of have a lot of stuff in the vault as I will say a lot. I feel like I'm always saying the vault because there's just so much in the vault. But
yeah, there's how many voice memos? 1,300?
So many voice memos. I have a lot of really exciting, fun stuff, and I'm going to be continuing to do TikTok Live, continuing to do Yap sessions on Live, continuing to do our little Zooms, Discord, all of it, and posting and all of the fun things. And I'm just excited to kind of continue. I love content creation, and you guys have made it possible, so that's been so fun. And yeah, I'm just going to continue putting out music and hopefully getting to connect with more people. And for the people that have already supported me so far, I love all of you guys so much, and it's just been really fun.
Well, and we're happy to support you on our end, and we gotta come on Too True sometime.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that.
All right, as we're starting to wrap up here, just want to ask you a little fun question. Is there anything that you're listening to right now, music-wise?
I mean, as usual, I'm listening to Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter, but I have two amazing friends who have also released a lot of music, Ava Ware and Amalia Fleming, so you guys should go check them out because they're both amazing.
We are fans of theirs.
Yes,
absolutely. And anything else that you want to share with listeners?
Just go stream Boy in My Bed and check out my socials. All will probably be some link down below, or Sophia, if you just look up Sophia Roselle, I should be there.
Yes, we will hyperlink all of your things. Yes, everybody, please go support Sophia. She's obviously doing incredible stuff. There is more music to come, more podcast episodes to come. We're so excited to see where everything takes you.
Yay! I love you guys. You guys are the best.
Oh,
Love you too.
thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
In the mixing room.
Yeah.
And that concludes our conversation with Sophia Roselle.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. We're going to ask you to do all of the same things that you've probably heard over and over and over, but go rate us 5 stars on Spotify if you've enjoyed this episode. I think you can even give us feedback when you do so. We love to hear it.
Absolutely. Give us those 5 stars. Go to our YouTube page if you're watching on our video stream. Go ahead and like, subscribe, leave us a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another good way to give us feedback is the comments, so feel free to do that. Follow us on our social media platforms at Mixing Room Podcast.
We're putting in a lot of work to get those up and running too. Right now, you can definitely check out the content we have on Instagram with Reels, TikTok, coming soon, YouTube Shorts, and hopefully branching out from there even further.
Yep, we will have all of those pages linked in the description of this episode, both on Spotify and on YouTube. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to email us, mixingroompod@gmail.com.
Yep, we'll have the links for our guest as well, as per usual, so check it all out. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Mixing Room Podcast with Sophia Roselle. I'm Trent.
I'm Daniel, and we'll see you next time.